All right, let's give the Lord a hand. All right, so just get straight into it. Um, Question: has anyone seen a movie called Little? No, like Little. But yeah, me and Jocelyn watched that movie this week, out of random actually. It was I don't remember how it came upon, but it was on Netflix and we decided to watch it. And it was about a girl who was bullied in her childhood and people treated her badly. And basically what happened was her parents basically told her, because there was an incident in the movie. Josh, can you turn my mic down a little bit? There was an incident in the movie where, like, in the beginning, she was in, I don't remember if it was middle school or high school, and she, there was a talent show, and she looked kind of funny, and she was just the odd one out, and you know everyone started liking her little talent show, and then next thing you know, like, it all went well, and a girl decided to get up and then, like, literally, like, push a ball towards her, and she fell into, like, a whole bunch of boxes and broke her arm and everything. And what her parents told her was that you won't have to deal with this for long because you're very smart. And basically, in a nutshell, telling her that she's going to be something one day. And, ironically, it happened. She became a business owner, and, she had all the things. But the one thing she ended up doing was treating people how she was treated in middle school. And basically thinking that she can, like, control everybody. And, take situations into her own hands. And the main person that she did this to was her assistant. And, the assistant had plenty of ideas and, plenty of things that she think would help be successful for the business. And she ended up shutting it all down. So the title of my message is, remember how little you are compared to God. And, so she did all of this stuff, and what happened was she ended up having to, well, there was this girl that was the same age as her when she was in middle school or whatever, and she was basically getting bullied too. And so the business owner thought it would be okay to go make fun of the little girl and, treat her as if she was how she was when she was in middle school. And basically the little girl did a magic trick to basically say that, I wish you were little. And the next morning she woke up as her old self, as a little kid. And it's not ironic because, if you look at it in the spiritual, God will take you back to who you were once before, so that you can remember where you came from. And that's what happened in the movie. She got taken back to show where she came from and how she was treated and how you should not treat people. And, Robert was talking to me about it in the booth, and I didn't think about it. In the end, she ended up making the right choice, and it only took her one time. But if you look at it in the spiritual realm, why does it take us multiple times if it's one person that's per se a movie person and they act or whatever the case may be, but per se if it was a real life story? Why is it that a worldly person, it could only take one time for them to get it right? But in the spiritual realm, it takes for forever to get it right. Right? And if for me, I myself have been the same way because how I have treated, may have been treated by others, how I basically, or even how I viewed myself. I would treat people a particular way because I was not the most popular, or because I was the one to be bullied, or say I would never be anything, right? So once I got a little taste of what it's like to at least be somebody, even though I'm still a nobody, it got to my head a little bit, too much, and helps me realize where I actually started. If I do an evaluation of myself and look at myself in the mirror, I had nothing to give. I literally could barely afford clothing. My family could barely afford rent, or even pay their bills for that matter. I didn't go to college. I took bus majority of where I wanted to go and so on. I didn't have a luxury lifestyle, so when I got a little taste of something, I thought it was the best thing ever, right? But that shouldn't be your thought process. When having this mindset, you have a choice to choose. If you're going to continue striving for success, but in the right way, or are you going to let your talents, leadership, etc. overtake you? I'm realizing a lot within leadership that as a leader, you should not be wanting to be better than the people under you, or the main character of everything. If you actually think about it, as a leader, you should be leading your people to be better than you, be granted more blessings than you. And even though it may seem like that sometimes it may seem like they're getting ahead of you, if you're doing your part as a leader, you are literally right aside them, right? Because if you actually think about it, right? If someone is being led, in a different way, and you are leading them, but, it's an instruction that's given for you to give to them. If you are given the instruction and you follow through with the instruction, how much more do you think God is watching you more than the person that's actually being blessed too? Right? But then our feelings get in the way. Why do people say, I did this and that when working together? Because I feel they want to take credit for themselves, to exalt themselves higher, and hope one day say you did something for God, which in reality were your own actions. When it comes down to it, you should not want to say that, I did this for another person. I did this. I take credit for that. No, that's not what you should do. As a leader, you are to build a person up. You are to help them. You are to help them strive to succeed in whatever talent that they have, whatever situation they're going through, whatever the case may be. And, I'm not saying that this has been me ever since I've been a leader, because it hasn't. But what I'm learning is, I'm coming to the realization is that me personally, I don't have to be better than anybody that I oversee. There is no point for me to be better than anybody I oversee. Any group that I'm in charge of, any task that I'm in charge of, I don't strive for success in that area to be someone that I'm really not. Because at the end of the day, I came from where that person came from. And, you know, if you look at it, God has blessed me in many areas. So why would I not want the same thing for the person that I'm leading to, that I'm supposed to lead to success in God's kingdom? And the thing that I notice is the more you try and exalt yourself, the more less you honestly feel. Because then you would be in competition with your own people. You can't think that, you know, the more that you exalt yourself, that God is going to look at you and say, good job, well done, faithful servant. God's going to be looking at the person that is actually diligently doing their part, right? We can't say that, you know, well, you know, this was the offering I gave God. This is this, that, and the third. But then your heart's not right. Then at that point, you're just exalting yourself because you want to gain credit from God and say, you know, God, I did this for you, when actually you really didn't. And also, as other people excel, you feel you are falling behind. And if you actually think about it, that's because you were never really with them anyways. You wanted them to be with you. But in hindsight, God is moving them and progressing them to show you that your plans are not good. To show you that, you know, without him, you will not go anywhere. Yes, okay, you know, when we grow up, we're able to learn how to walk. We learn how to move. Then as time goes on, we learn how to drive. Then we know how to get to places. But the question is, do we know the right pathway to God? Right? And I'm not saying I know the right pathway, because I really don't. But what I am saying is, are you striving to actually seek God's kingdom? Or are you striving to seek God's kingdom so that you can gain some type of recognition? This is one of the reasons why people butt heads with leadership, or even with just a normal person within the ministry, because we have our own way, but God has given a different directive. Even for me, when God has me helping his people, I realize it doesn't mean to control their lives. What it means is to help them be the better version of God himself. And as I help them, I know I am progressing right along with them in a way. And, you know, for me, as, you know, I talk about this to my wife and everything practically on a week-to-week basis, is that I tell her that I want the people that I oversee, the people that I, you know, work aside with, I want them to be able to prosper. I joined the ministry in 2018. I know, because I was 18. If you don't know, I was born in 2000, so I just go by the year. Which is easy for me, so I don't got to remember when I was born. I just say 2000. But I came to the ministry in 2018, and now it is 2024, and if you don't know, I'm 24. But it's been 6 years, and, you know, evaluating my life from 2018 to 2024, it is a lot different. But if you look at it, the reason why it's a lot different is because I had a choice I needed to make. I needed to make a choice for my family. I needed to make a choice for myself in order to grow in God's kingdom. And when learning from that helped me grow to get to where I am today. And all glory is given to God. Robert, can you please pull up the band post that I put on the band? It's right there at the top. Back in 2018, my parents were going through probably the roughest times that they could be going through at the time. And when I tell you that I didn't grow up having anything, I really didn't grow up having anything. And this picture here actually touched me when my mom sent it to me. Because all my life, my parents fought a lot. There was times where it talked about divorce and all of these things. And in 2024, a year from when they came here, the relationship is a lot different than what I would expect it to be. And what I realized is that it was a choice I had to make. And in the time I was seeking for God and I didn't know, where to go, didn't know where to find, and, just searching, right? But you can't search in your own home. You have to go to God's temple to be able to find him. And, I will say that in 2018, it was the best decision that I ever made in my entire life. And I feel God is restoring my family and doing things for them. And, I'm very blessed to see it. But there was one thing that I needed to do, which was let go of my own thoughts, let go of my own mindset, let go of, what I think my life should be, what I think I should do, rather that be what talent I may have, if that means, learning how to dance and all of these things, right? But one thing when I first started here is that, God put me in a whole bunch of things, but then he also took me out from a whole bunch of things, and it wasn't that far after he put me in, he took me out. But that was because I needed to let go of the little me and grow into the big person that God wanted me to be. And, like I said, I'm not saying I'm anything, but I will say that God has been creating testimony after testimony within my family, within my life. And it's all based off of one simple thing, which is following the first instructions. And stop thinking so highly of yourself and just be who God has wanted you to be. We get things and then we start, jumping around with joy and say, look at what God did for me. And then over time, you actually forget what God did for you, because then you think that, you did it for you. You did it yourself. And that's not the case. And, I'm continuing to learn to grow as a leader, or even, as just a person, a part of the church and a spiritual person, that, there's a point in time where you need to let go of the old mindset. There's a point in time you need to be affirmative in saying, God, I'm going to make the right choice. Actually committing to the words that God has given, and, even if it causes you a sacrifice, knowing that in the end it will turn out better for your good. Romans 8:28 through 30. So we are convinced that every detail of our lives is continually woven together for good. For we are his lovers who have been called to fulfill his designed purpose. For he knew all about us before we were born, and he destined us from the beginning to share the likeness of his son. This means the son is the oldest among a vast family of brothers and sisters who will become just like him. Having determined our destiny ahead of time, he called us to himself and transferred his perfect righteousness to everyone he called. And those who possess his perfect righteousness, he co-glorified with his son. That means that as long as we play our part, we are considered God's people. But I feel like when we try to maneuver and, get around things and get around, this way, that way, the way that God told you to go, I don't know. Yes, I feel like he still considers us his people, but, I feel like at that point you're just on a lower level. And, Pastor talks about that all the time, is that, if you don't hop on the train that, God wants you to hop on, then you're just going to be, God's going to just keep coming around and wait for you to hop on the train with him and, go on about life. But if you don't do that, then at that point, you're just wasting time. And, I feel like this also ties into specific topics that pastors have been talking about now, these past couple of weeks. And one of them being that, pastors have talked about a lot about serving these past couple of weeks, rather on band or in sermons. Serving is not a mandate. But then again, you should reflect on why you serve or don't serve, and if you don't serve, then why? Is it because what you desire or you think is going to come on a platter plate? Is it because your idol that you worship too highly? And think that whatever you desire most is what's going to bring success, wealth, etc. Or maybe even wanting to be the next big thing in the ministry. No, actually, none of that will get you anywhere. Things may look good, sound good, feel good, but if you think about it, why are others excelling and you still doing the same thing over and over again? That's because you're just doing things for yourself. You have to be willing to serve with a humbled and open heart. When I come to serve in the ministry, I don't think like, oh, God's going to bless me for doing this. I mean, at the beginning, yeah, I had these thoughts. Don't get me wrong, and I guarantee you everyone in here has those thoughts. If I serve, oh, God's going to get me this. If I serve, God's going to do great things. He may do it, but it may not be for the right timing that you want it to be, and God will take it away. But, when I come now, I don't expect anything. I don't expect a blessing. I don't care about those things practically anymore, to be honest with you. When I come to serve, when I think about it, I think about where I was in 2018, where I am now in 2024. What God has done for me in my life between the 6 years, and how can I repay back God? Because I know that anything that he has blessed me with or anything that he has sacrificed for me, I can never pay back in full. Think about that. God has blessed us very well, has done us all good, with good things in life. And sometimes we forget about the price that he paid for us to all be here. We forget about the stuff that he has done for us in the years that we've been here. And you never think about that you can, in your whole lifetime, you can never pay him back in full for what he has done for you. The full that he wants us to pay him back in is the fullness of God. And if we're not full of God, then where are we? Are we too busy, working on the things that we, think is the best thing that's going to be the next big top-notch thing? Are we, off in la la land, like Pastor talks about? Or are we here in the ministry? I always talk about this. We only have one life to live. And, I practically talk about this to Jocelyn. I say this a lot. And then she just be like, can you stop talking about that? But I don't care, because you only got one life to live. And do you want to make that life full of the goodness of God? Do you want to make that life half full of the goodness of God and then half full of the selfish and evil things you're doing? Or do you want to make your life like King Saul did? Now, I'm not saying that I'm perfect, and I'm never going to say that I'm going to be perfect, but my goal is to have the fullness of God. And as all of you guys should too. Be grateful that you're able to serve and pay back in some respect for what God has done for all of us. Like, who wouldn't want to live their life serving to just be mad at God or pastors? Because then you are just serving out of, I have to serve or else I'm not going to get the blessing. Well, truth tell you, you're not going to get the blessing no way. And it's as serious as that. The heart that you have towards serving, the heart that you have towards anything within the ministry is exactly how God is going to pay you back in the way that you respond to him. People wonder why they don't see God coming for them. People wonder why they can never hear God. And I'm not saying you have to hear God physically. I'm saying, why is it that, when God comes to you, it's like, you got to correct this. And when he comes to you to correct it, is it going to be the same word that you're going to get multiple times in the eternity of life? Why is it that, the word has to come in one way, then it has to come in another way, and then come in multiple different ways that fills up this whole podium right here? And you look at it, and while you're actually looking at it, you know the choices that you need to make. I need to correct this. I need to correct that. I need to continue to move forward. Whatever the word may be. Why is it that we just look at it, and it's right there in front of us, and we don't action on it? As I say multiple times and plenty of times, is that it's because you haven't made the decision or the choice to fully trust God. At any given moment, it is a choice, and it is up to you what decision you're going to make. It's up to you what your family, what your friends, or whatever the case may be, are going to look like in the next couple of years. And as you flip the page, Are we going to see good things prosper, or are we going to continue to see the same testimony that was given 10 years ago, 15 years ago, 20 years ago, and the page has not turned to increase on the testimony of your life? Stop thinking stuff is going to be a smooth walk in the park, and you have to expect the storms to come. But know, in the darkness, in the midst of the storm, he will be there. You just have to trust and believe God is working in your favor and will turn all things for good when you least expect it. When you look at Peter, what did he say he was not going to do? Is deny God. And God said to him, after the rooster crows 2 times, you will deny me 3 times. And Peter said, no, I'm not going to deny you, God. I'm faithfully your servant. And then when the time came, what did Peter do? He denied God 3 times. And so I was thinking about this. It's like, how much more for us if God came to us and was like, well, even for me, because I've been thinking about this too. HD, you're going to deny me 3 times after Pastor corrects me. And I'll be like, oh no, God, I'm not, no, I'm not going to, I'm going to follow instruction. I'm going to do great. And then next thing you know, I denied God 3 times because 3 times over and over again, God came to me with the same word and I never corrected it. What do you think God's going to say to you when you do something like that? Because I've been thinking about it too. Because like I said, I'm not perfect. And to be honest with you, I don't know what I would say. Matthew 26:31-35. Along the way, Jesus said to them, before the night is over, you will all desert me. This will fulfill the prophecy of the scripture that says, I will strike down the shepherd and all the sheep will scatter far and wide. But after I am risen, I will go ahead of you to Galilee and will meet you there. Then Peter spoke up and said, even if all the rest lose courage and fall away, I will still be beside you, Jesus. Are you sure, Peter? Jesus said, in fact, before the rooster crows a few hours from now, you will have denied me 3 times. Peter replied, I absolutely will never deny you, even if I have to die with you. And all the others said the same thing. And then when you deny God, what will you say when God comes to collect? God, I did what you asked me to do. No, you didn't. You denied him. So how in any way, shape, or form did you ever not deny God after he came to you and said, this is what you would do? God knows what kind of heart we have, right? But then, we all know what kind of heart we have. So when God comes to us and says you're doing this, doing that, The reason why people get so defensive, the reason why people say, oh no, I would never do that, is because you know it's you. You just don't want to accept it. Isaiah 43, 1 through 7. Now this is what Yahweh says. Listen, Jacob, to the one who created you, Israel, to the one who shaped you, who you are. Do not fear, for I, your kinsman redeemer, will rescue you. I have called you by name, and you are mine. He has called all of us by name. We all were born with a name. And he says all of us are his. When you pass through the deep stormy sea, you can count on me to be there with you. When all else fails, when all things are going wrong, you may count on him to be there with you. When you pass through the raging rivers, you will not drown. When you walk through persecution like fiery flames, you will not be burned. The flames will not harm you, for I am your Savior, Yahweh, your mighty God, the Holy One of Israel. I give up Egypt as the price to set you free. He took you out of where you came from and brought you here. And as we all know, he paid a price for all of us to be here. Cush and Seba is in exchange to bring you back. Since you are cherished and precious in my eyes, and because I love you dearly and want to honor you, I willingly give up nations in exchange for you, a man to save your life. I am with you now, even close to you, so never yield to fear. I will bring your children from the east, from the west I will gather you. I will say to the north, hand them over, and to the south, don't hold them back. Bring me my sons from far away, my daughters from the ends of the earth. Bring me everyone who is called by my name, the ones I created to experience my glory. I, myself, formed them to be who they are and made them for my glory. And there is another verse that says God has made everyone in their own image, and that is in the image of God. Even though we all act different, everyone has different personalities, God has made us all the same. And it was for a purpose. And, as we continue on, I think we should really evaluate that. It's like, maybe think about where you came from, what year you came to the church, where you are now, and how different your life is. But then the question you should ask is, do you love where you are? Or do you question God about where he has brought you? Everyone's life is meant to be the way they are. Now let me put this in the correct form. What God has blessed you with is what you are supposed to be blessed with. Now, if you question his blessing, that is not what he has blessed you with. We all came from something. We all have been through things. No one is different. And I feel like in the ministry, no one is better than anybody. Everyone has a place, a time, and, a job to play. But we can never set ourselves at a high standard and say that, someone else is not going to be like this, or someone else is not going to do this, or whatever the case may be. Everyone has their own particular thing and their own particular things they need to do. And that is not up for people to question or to make comments about. Everyone has some kind of offering they want to bring to God, or some kind of thing they want to do for the Lord. And I think in due time, it's even though it may take practice, it may take time, whatever the case may be, it will show. But I want everyone to reevaluate where they came from and where God has brought you. Because if you actually think about it, you were at the same level that maybe a person is starting out at, maybe a person that's still in the same place. We all came from something, and it wasn't great. But I want everyone to think about that, because it seems like, Pastor's been talking about this a lot, is that, you really need to reevaluate where you came from and what God has done and what has changed. Amen? And